So hi and welcome to another episode of Soundtrack of Our Lives. I'm here with Alan from The Love Engineer. You're a dating and relationship coach. Is that the right thing to say? I did have a little look on your website, but correct me if I'm wrong on that.
That is in a nutshell what I do.
Yeah.
I work with singles and divorcees that are frustrated with the modern dating culture and the swipe stuff. What is it? Swipe left for a muppet, swipe right for a moron, and up for a narcissist if you're extremely unlucky.
All this endless, soulless thing, isn't it? It's almost like a weird transaction. It doesn't seem to. It's not great, is it? I'm not a fan of it.
No, there's certainly a lot to be learnt from dating in the past, whether it's the sort of 80s, 90s, or go back to the Pride and Prejudice days of the old-fashioned courtships, where it was a different world again.
Yeah. Very different, yeah. And also, I think when you look back away from what we've got now, where everything seems ultra convenient, you had to get to know someone, or you had to have something about you. You'd have to go and talk to someone in a coffee shop or a bar, or in the library, or whatever it might be, or at work. Probably not at work, because you get in all sorts of legal trouble now, don't you? But you had to have something about you to go and have a conversation, didn't you? And spark.
And then back in those days, the dating pool you had to pick from was either somebody from a club that you went to, somebody from work, a friend of a friend, maybe a church, who knows, but it was going to be relatively local. And now you've got the option of somebody somewhere in the world in your pocket.
And it's not practical as well, is it? I think a lot of the time when people have got things going on, you can't go and have a relationship with someone 300 miles away that takes, it's a 4-hour drive.
It's possible, but it's hard work.
Yeah.
So I know a guy. He's originally based just down the road in Leamington Spa. I met him through a group on Facebook. He met his now wife through that group as well. Yeah. But she lived in America.
Oh, okay. No, that is.
So that was
not even a little drive, is it?
It's a whole different world.
Wow. and you mentioned before there, so you also do a podcast?
I do. It's called Relationship Revolutions.
Yeah.
On there I interview all sorts of experts in the world of dating and relationships, parenting, anything that can affect relationships. We talk about it. Yeah. Because there's a lot of things that need to be talked about. Yeah. And aren't.
Yes. And are just left brushed under the carpet or not mentioned, and
better
off aired, aren't they?
We're sort of taught not to talk about politics, religion, money, sex, and those things, but they cause the biggest disconnects between two couples, let alone different childhood upbringings and our internal belief of what husband is or what wife is, and if those two aren't in alignment, then it's going to cause tension.
Yeah, well,
even if you love each other.
All these things are quite important, aren't they? And
yes.
Yeah, if they're not addressed or spoken about, and if you're not on the same page, it's just a recipe for disaster down the line. So better to perhaps have these conversations at the beginning.
Absolutely.
Well, as with everyone, Alan, what I'll do is I'll put everything in the description of the video so people can find your website. I'll put the links to the podcast, and obviously they can subscribe and follow that if that's something that's of interest, and all your social channels as well. So everyone will be able to get hold of you if they want to sort of speak to you about what you do.
Awesome.
Cool. So we will just jump straight in then to your first song selection for the day. Fantastic act. This is Ugly Kid Joe, and you've chosen Cats in the Cradle.
I have indeed. That's the lyrics I find on that one to be very, very powerful. I first heard it, I was probably in high school, and at that time it was a cool song. Yeah. And then when I went travelling around Australia and New Zealand 20 years ago.
What was that, sorry?
20 years ago.
Some while ago,
I feel a bit old saying that now, but and that's kind of the first time properly away from parents and whatnot. And when I grew up, it wasn't a case of having the superheroes of Batman and Superman that I looked up. My hero was my dad. Yeah. Then all of a sudden it's like, where is he?
Yeah, wasn't there.
Yeah, you can pick up the phone and whatnot, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
But that also then gave me an indication of what life without parents is like when they sadly do pass.
Yeah.
And so that song took on a whole new meaning on that trip. And I think when it was his birthday, I thought, well, I want to call him or something, but I was going to be out on a boat somewhere in the Whitsunday Islands and wouldn't have access to a phone. I thought, what do I do? I know. I'll send an email to Ken Bruce on Radio 2 and say, can you wish my dad a happy birthday and play this tune?
Ah.
And at that time he was a truck driver and wasn't sat in the cab at the time. But all of his mates phoned him up saying, well, we suppose you don't want to talk to us now you're a celebrity.
Yeah.
He found out about it anyway.
So at least he got to hear about it, even though he didn't actually hear it.
And then that song took even a whole new meaning again when I became a dad myself.
Yeah, that's it. Then it's all on you, isn't it? And you think
it is, yeah.
And you know, then once you become a parent, you think how things you never thought of that your parents must have thought or went through.
Oh yes. The word responsibility takes on a whole new meaning.
Frightening sometimes, isn't it? What they need from you and what you're expected to do. Very, very interesting. And you mentioned here as well, it sounds unfortunately like you lost your dad.
Yeah,
last year.
He passed away last year, and then they were talking about the funeral service and what we're going to do and everything. So I want to play my guitar.
Yeah.
I was going to read the eulogy, and then when it sort of came to a week before, I was like, I can't do it.
No.
Not without breaking down.
That's a big ask, isn't it?
So I did play my guitar, and I thought, what songs are there that he would like and respect, and that I kind of like and respect? Now, his taste in music is more sort of Slim Whitman, country music and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Where's the crossover here? I did think about doing Ugly Kid Joe, and I thought, singing is going to be worse than speaking.
Yeah.
So I went for the Shadows and Apache.
Yeah. So good choice. Yeah, very good choice. But it's like you say. I mean, it would have been harder to sing the song, wouldn't it? With everything that went with it and all the memories and what it meant to you.
Yeah.
So, it's and in your time around Australia and New Zealand, how long were you backpacking there?
I was out there for a year.
For a year.
Yeah, so I went. Was it 16th of March 2003 and got back on the 12th 2004.
Yeah. It's always weird because Australia, particularly Australia, I think New Zealand is a very different prospect.
Yeah.
But Australia has never appealed to me because, and I suppose it's only a bit of a joke, but almost everything out there can kill you, can't it?
There's a lot of stuff.
Quite a dangerous continent.
Yeah. In some ways you could say that I think there's nearly 5 things out there that begin with S that can kill you. The snakes, the sharks, the spiders.
Yeah. Scorpions
probably.
Stingrays is the other one, isn't it?
Stingrays, and you could also bring Sheilas into it as well.
Sheilas, yeah. It's lethal. Right, we'll jump on to your second song choice, with an artist I've not heard of. This is Mike Tramp.
Mike Tramp,
and your song choice was?
There was a song called Better Off.
Better Off, yeah.
And interestingly, I came across Mike Tramp when I was travelling.
Yeah.
Because I was going to be staying with a family in Tasmania, kind of work a few hours a day in exchange for free accommodation, food, bargain. Yeah. Loved it. Did that a few times, but in the email conversations, getting to know them throughout, I think it was a good 8 months we were chatting before I got there.
Yeah.
And got into music, and the husband sort of played guitar a little bit, and they were a very musical family, and they said, "Oh, are you a fan of White Line?" I thought, never heard of them, but I'll check them out anyway. And I like their stuff, and bought their Essentials album. And then it turned out that one of their friends was the guy who used to sing in that band.
Right. How strange.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who also happened to have grown up in Denmark and was very good friends with the drummer from Metallica.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So
that's quite someone to know, isn't it?
Yes. So when I got there, I think it was the day that I got there, went out to a local fete or something, and kind of met him. Thought, okay, cool. Then he popped round to the house next day for whatever reason, and I'm like, almost like the kid meeting his idol kind of thing. Can you sign that for me, please?
Sign the CD.
I never knew they did that Essentials album, but so he signed it for me, and then the next day he came around just to see me and said, here's a couple of my solo albums signed and dedicated to me. So
fantastic.
I thought, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And listened to them at the time, I thought, they weren't too bad. And then fast forward probably too many years.
Yeah.
And after the divorce, marriage breakdown, and the first relationship afterwards, it's like my whole world crumbles down.
All just come cascading down, did it?
Yeah, I had my own mobile mechanics business at that time, which I was full time in, but it was only generating a part time income.
Oh, okay.
And,
which is always challenging, isn't it? It's really hard.
And then I'm sort of, because she got all the furniture as well by that point, or pretty much. So I'm sat in this empty house, bawling my eyes out, thinking, what do I do now?
Yeah, where do I go from here?
I'm broken. Why me? And it's like, okay, when have I felt my happiest? When have I been the best? Australia and New Zealand. I know. I'll sell all the bits and pieces I've got left and emigrate and start again. Great idea. But I've got 2 kids.
Yeah.
And they need a dad, they deserve a dad. They're completely innocent in this mess, so I can't do it. So I thought, okay, what else can I do to feel good? I know, to put on some music. So because I was thinking Australia and New Zealand, I'd put on these 2 CDs. There's a first song on the one album I put on called You Can't Take My Rock and Roll. Was pretty much after White Lion split up, he must have written that. And he says, like, you can take my house, you can take my fancy car, you can take the bed I sleep in. I thought, yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah, living that.
Yeah, and he says, but you can't take my rock and roll. I thought, yeah, she can't take my rock and roll. She tried to get me to sell me electric guitars and stuff like that, but no, she couldn't. She couldn't take my rock and roll, and that really resonated with me. So I put the other CD on, and then there's this song called Better Off, and some of the lyrics go, is he better off now that his father is dead? Mother wasn't what a mother should be, and things like that. And I thought, damn, I've just been hit by a train.
Yeah.
It felt like somebody was singing that about my kids in 10, 15, 20 years time. It's like, yeah, New Zealand's definitely off the cards.
Yeah.
But I also need to become a great dad, the best version of myself, and how the hell do I do that?
Yeah, it just sort of switched you around and made you think, right, actually,
like,
I can't.
Anything
can't
else is not a possibility.
Yeah, it's time to kind of pull the bootstraps up, as they say.
Indeed.
And get on with it.
Yeah, if only I could afford bootstraps.
And then after that, you kind of.
Yeah,
I assume, is that when you started your business up that you're running at the minute? Is that
no, that's when I sort of hired a life coach for myself and a business coach, and went to Tony Robbins's Unleash the Power Within.
Yeah.
How the hell I did that, I don't know, because it's like 900 quid for 2 tickets because you can't buy one.
Right.
So you have to then find somebody to sell the other one to.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even sell a book of raffle tickets back then. And then you've also got the accommodation because it's 5 days down in London.
Of course, yeah. You're probably into the thousands, aren't you?
Yeah.
By the time you're done and dusted with the whole cost.
Yeah, and then you've got the food and everything else as well. So I think I ate for those few days. Certainly didn't go to the pub and celebrate in any way, shape or form. But that made a lot of changes and sort of sowed seeds, because it's like having been to Maiden and Metallica gigs, looked on and said, yeah, I'd love to be up there one day. I'm sat there watching Tony Robbins, seeing the differences he's making, and I think, I'd love to be there one day.
Yeah, it's aspiring to actually get to that point.
Yeah, and that's kind of sent me on a journey of discovery to firstly work out how life should be done, or how to do it on your own terms, how relationships should work, because I was absolutely clueless.
Yeah. No, very good. And all these things have a real impact, don't they, on
They do
on
indeed.
how your life sort of transforms from one stage to another.
Yeah.
And very, very good. Very good that at least you managed to. It kind of lifted you, didn't it, and got to the point where I'm going to actually go and do something about it, rather than sort of wallowing and spiralling down, which is good. Your next choice, and finally, I've got to say, so you're going to be episode 17, so we're saying maybe about 100-ish songs, 105 songs that have been chosen so far. This is the first time that someone has chosen a repeat song from another episode. When you've picked Iron Maiden with Phantom of the Opera.
I have indeed.
Massive band. So why have you chosen? Well, I mean, you said it. You could have picked a number of their songs, couldn't you? But why this one in particular?
When I was probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old or thereabouts. After my mum's dad passed away, we ended up with his old classical guitar at my house. So, and that was coincidentally the same time that Dire Straits brought out Money for Nothing, and so I was there strumming along out of key to Dire Straits, out of tune, no idea what I was doing, but I loved it.
Yeah.
Of course, parents don't take things seriously at that age, do they?
No.
So lessons didn't happen, and but that sowed a seed. And then when I was a teenager, my sister was into all sorts of rock music and whatnot, and I could tolerate the likes of Bon Jovi and Def Leppard and Queen and things like that. And then one day she says, "You've got to listen to this." I thought, "What is it?" She says, "Iron Maiden." I don't listen to any of that heavy stuff, I'm not interested. So after a little bit of persuasion over about a week or something, in the end she just took whatever I was listening at with tape player, back in those days, shoved it in, pressed play. That was a Number of the Beast album, and I'm like, wow, head blown. How is this happening, kind of thing. And then I'm like, have you got any more?
Yeah, play some more of this.
Yeah, so she gave me the first album. At that time there was also an advert on the TV for Lucozade with Daley Thompson, where he gets up, does the hurdles and whatnot, and it's this incredible tune that I've heard nothing like before, which turns out to be Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
And you hear it played on guitars and you think, how the hell are they doing that? I want to be able to do that myself. The speed and the energy and the way it makes you feel and whatever else, and I was just hooked. So I was talking to one of my mates, I've got an electric guitar that I kind of share between me and my sister, do you want to buy it? I thought, yeah. So of course, Mum,
I need some money.
No you can't. Oh, why? Well, because you bought you this and you gave up, we bought you that and you gave up, and it'll be noisy and all this, that and the other, and then you've got to learn how to play it. Well, my school teacher plays guitar, he can teach me a little bit. And it's like, no. Okay, a few months later, and I'm on a geography field trip, and just happens that in the sixth form, because I was in, the 4th year, my sister's friends were in the sixth form, and one of them was like, well, do you want to buy me a guitar? And says, well, I'd like to, but I don't think my mum and dad will let me. Says, well, how much money have you got? So, well, I could probably get around 100 quid, I suppose. Says, if you want to do that, it's yours. And I'll give you an amplifier and a book and a tape on how to play.
Nice.
Deal. I think he must have been short of money, so I got my guitar and then I had to learn to play it.
And that obviously sounds like you are quite a guitarist then.
I would say at this stage I probably play it because I enjoy it, not because I'm good at it.
Yeah. And you enjoy playing particularly this kind of music then, like the Iron Maiden and the rock and the heavy stuff. Yeah, it's a bit of a jam with that.
Yeah.
But you're not in a band as such, or that plays at gigs?
Not at the moment.
Yeah.
There's a divorce consultant who I met through business networking down in Warwick, that he's also recently picked up the guitar, so we have a few jamming lessons. So things could happen.
Yeah, things might progress in the
Yeah.
future. It'd be pretty cool. Get yourself out playing a couple of gigs.
Yeah, that's it. Bit of beer money or whatever.
Yeah, but even if the main thing is, even if you just pick it up when you're out jamming in the garage and it's what
Yeah.
you enjoy, that's what really matters, isn't it? If it's
Yeah.
a bit of a passion, as it were. And then another phenomenal guitar band you've got as your fourth choice. Sorry, is Metallica. These are, well, probably one of the biggest rock bands of all time, aren't they? I'd say.
Yes.
And you've gone with Welcome Home.
I have.
Choice.
Yeah, but Metallica was another one of the sister influences.
Yeah.
Where she came into my room and says, "You've got to listen to this." I didn't question it this time.
No, you'd learned.
Okay.
You learnt it was worthwhile from the last one.
That was a Master of Puppets album. It was like, took the Iron Maiden thing onto a whole new level. And this song is about somebody that's kind of in a prison or something like that. And that's kind of how I felt about being in school.
Yeah.
And it kind of
Trapped.
totally resonated. And then they released the Justice for All album. And one of the songs on there has got lyrics that go something like, "Dear mother, dear father, what is this hell you've put me through?" And as a teenager, that relates anyway.
Yeah.
Plus, that was about the time where we sold the family farm, which up until that point, that was my future, it was my dream. I was going to be a farmer like my dad. That was my whole identity, and it's gone.
Yeah, and all that's suddenly been
Yeah.
taken away from you, which is quite unsettling, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
And after 13, 14 years of having no neighbours, then all of a sudden you've got neighbours.
Everything's changing at this point,
It's
isn't
a
it?
whole new world, to say the least.
Yeah.
So that music is probably what kept me going through those times. So
Yeah. And so once you had your whole future ahead of you, like you say, as going to be a farmer like your dad, and then the farm was sold and you moved somewhere. What were your thoughts then? What did you have something else in mind, or were you just kind of?
There was a lot of thoughts of, well, do you care about me selling my future and my dreams, kind of thing. But
Yeah.
looking back on it now, it was probably a gift, because a lot of my friends that I still see in the farming community, half of them are bloody miserable.
Yeah, or struggling. They might be
Struggling,
struggling because it's a very
miserable.
hard gig, isn't it?
Moaning
Farming.
about the weather like there's no tomorrow. It's like,
Yeah.
nah.
And maybe it might not have been. You might have ended up even going into farming and then finding after a few years that it wasn't
Yeah.
what you actually wanted to do. It wasn't your purpose in life, and
Yeah.
so all these things perhaps happen for a reason. But
Yeah, plus, because of the way it was at that time, my gran was still alive, and there wasn't just my dad and his family,
yeah,
there's also my uncle and his family. So we've got three households living off one farm,
yeah,
which would have supported one.
right,
So if we'd have kept it, go farther down the line, gran passes away, okay, some inheritance tax there, which dad and my uncle have got to pay, and then when they pass, then okay, this farm is divided between me, my sister, my two cousins.
yeah,
So then I've got to buy 3 people out of this farm that
yeah.
would only support one. So they did me a real gift.
It was perhaps a blessing in disguise, wasn't it?
Absolutely,
Actually,
yeah.
It's, at the time felt like awful,
Yeah,
but actually, when as the years progress and you think, well, I'm thankful that it happened, because
yeah.
yeah,
And
it's
some great lessons in delayed gratification when you're building a business as well.
yeah,
Because the marketing I do today, you don't see the results for a few months,
no, it's not.
which
an
is very
instant-
different to having a paycheck. So,
Yeah,
but on the farm, you plant the seeds in September, and then you have to fertilise it and nurture it, spray it, and all at a cost.
yeah,
And then you harvest it in July or August. Do you get paid for it? Maybe.
yeah.
Depends on the markets at the time, and
Yeah, well, yeah, there could be a lot of oversupply of whatever you've
Yeah.
grown, and there's all these variables.
or everything's flooded this time
Yeah,
of year and they
or-
can't plant
or
anything.
the crops have gone, or
Yeah.
there's all these things. Like you say, that's a great learning curve for actually having your own business,
Yeah.
isn't it? Because it's very similar that you.
And with what I do now as a coach, every session I have, there are seeds planted in the client that
Yeah.
they're not going to see the effects of, who knows,
for
maybe
some
months
time,
or
yeah,
for years.
months or years. It could be
Yeah.
ages, couldn't it? but they're all there and they're all working and doing something. Yeah, it's quite interesting. And your last choice is another band I'm not aware of. This is the Almighty, and the song you've gone with is Addiction.
Yeah, they were a band I discovered in a sense by accident.
Yeah.
I went to see Iron Maiden headlining the old Donington Monsters of Rock Festival before it became Download, where it was just one day. And must have been what, 14 years old. And so I said, Mum, can I go to this? I don't know. And I kind of figured that might be the answer. So what she didn't know is a few days before I'd been to see the next door neighbour's 25-year-old son who likes the same music. Are you going to Donington? Well, I might be. Can I come with you? So he spoke to his mother, says, well, you've got to go and speak to his mother and make sure it's all right. So I was allowed to go, and then there were 6 bands on that day. The main one I was there for was Iron Maiden, but then I'd heard of or got music from all the others, and then the first band on the day was the Almighty. I'd seen things about them in the metal magazines and whatnot, because there's no internet, no YouTube, no Spotify, you can't just Google it.
No, you had to go to record stores and magazine shops and buy stuff and listen to stuff, didn't you?
I didn't want to buy it if they're rubbish.
Yeah.
So I checked, when they came on, it's like full force metal and blows your mind, so to speak. And then one of the songs they played was this one, Addiction. And I thought, yeah, you guys really are feeding my addiction to this kind of music.
It was definitely your jam, as they say, wasn't it? This,
very much so.
All this heavy stuff.
And their music also introduced me to different types of guitar tune as well, to give it a heavier sound, which I didn't know what they were doing until I found myself at the Academy, I'll put my teeth back in, Academy of Contemporary Music down in Guildford in Surrey.
Right.
I went to a week's guitar summer school there, and they had all sorts of famous musicians coming to teach.
Yeah.
And one of these guys was a guy called Pete Friesen, who played in the Almighty.
Right.
And Alice Cooper before that.
Wow. So he the guy that you sort of blown away with at this gig, and he's come in and actually been teaching you
He's
guitar.
kind of the first famous person I've ever met. And I was thinking, how do you play this? How do you play that? And it's like, well, it's been a while since I've been in that band, so here's a few licks that I can remember kind of thing. And to have lessons of the person who's been playing it on stage, and you think, is this real? Have I died and gone to heaven kind of thing? But he's a really nice, friendly bloke.
Yeah, just quite down to earth and just sits there teaching you the chords and the whatever else is involved. I can't play guitar if my life depended on it, so I don't know what they are, but incredible talent. And I just love anyone that can play a musical instrument. I think it's phenomenal. It's such a skill to have.
Yeah, and at that time the Almighty were also got back together to do another album. Yeah. But he wasn't on it, so I'm like, come on mate, what's going on? He says, well, at that time, because the Almighty split up, I ended up going back to Alice Cooper's band, and Ricky did reach out and say, well, you coming back? He says, I couldn't leave the Alice Cooper thing again.
No, once he's gone back there, that was him sort of made up. Yeah,
so he stayed there till he went teaching.
Yeah.
And I think part of the decision to do that was being a dad.
No, fair play. And with all these sort of rock songs and Metallicas and the Iron Maidens, what's your favourite song that you like to play on the guitar? What's the one that you can
well, there are a lot that I've heard back in the day that are still on the dream list of being able to play.
Yeah.
But I think the one I prefer is probably Enter Sandman by Metallica.
Yeah. Cracking tune. Yeah. And that's the one that you would if you got put on the spot, right, someone gives you a guitar, plays a song, that'd be the one that you could. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the main riff I would go to, because